those aha moments, when you understand something new, when you see two things fitting together to make a surprising third. That's a message from Gloria Steinem reminding us that we need aha moments. Welcome to The Modern Creative Woman, exploring the art and science of creativity. I'm your hostess and creativity expert, Dr. Amy Backos. Let's get started. Let's talk about these authentic aha moments and how you can get more of them. So what is an aha moment? It is that split second of sudden inspiration, insight, recognition, some kind of comprehension. We might call it a light bulb moment, or when we say ding, ding, ding. It comes from, in our brain, spontaneous insight. It is nothing about analytic thinking. It's also called a eureka moment. And scientists have been looking at aha moments for almost a century. In psychotherapy specifically, an aha moment is a client's sudden insight into her motives for thoughts or feelings or behaviors. And it's called the aha moment or the aha reaction. Oprah describes the aha moment as remembering what you already knew. It's hearing something articulated in a way that resonates with your own truth and understanding. So the aha moment isn't somebody teaching you something. It's somebody helping you remember and make connections. And I think that's a great definition. When we suddenly comprehend what we need to do to solve a problem, or we have a sudden shift in our perspective that reinterprets a situation. In therapy, it might be reinterpreting what we understood about our childhood or a traumatic situation. It also happens when we suddenly get a joke. We don't get it, and all of a sudden it's funny. That kind of comprehension can also really resolve an ambiguous situation for us and give us this new kind of insight. Neuropsychology has been weighing in on the aha phenomenon as well. These studies highlight one aspect of how we can understand the aha moment. And the neuropsychology studies show that insight is really accumulation of a series of brain states. We think about things, we look at things, and then a different set of processes takes over, and that it all happens in a different time scale. But it's interesting when you think about your aha moments. They don't come while we're thinking about the problem necessarily. They show up for us after we've been pondering a problem for a while, and we've maybe even put it aside. So once the foundation has been laid in our brain for conscious mental effort, then psychologists and researchers have found that going on a walk, taking a nap, or engaging in some kind of distracting task is what's necessary to enable a creative breakthrough. These kinds of creative breakthroughs really come along with two feeling states, satisfaction and certainty. So we feel satisfied that we have remembered what we need to remember. We've made the connections that we need to connect all these ideas. And then the feeling of some kind of certainty, where we're suddenly able to see how things should fit together, how concepts might help us in this whole new way. One of my favorite quotes, and I've had it hanging on my bulletin board off and on for decades. Sometimes the truth depends on a walk around the lake. It's a quote by Wallace Stevens. And for me, it really highlights how the aha moment can happen, how we get our insight and our creative ways of understanding things. So all of the studies can kind of boil down to a couple of different ideas and how you can give yourself some more aha moments. So first, if we want to gain some insight and clarity on a problem or a situation, we have to almost look out of the corner of our eye. There's an interesting Dutch study that showed when people try and remember a set of numbers while they're putting together concepts, that kind of distraction actually helps with creating the aha moment or making the connections that they need to solve a problem. There's all kinds of research that shows we have to have situations that allow other things to come into our awareness. And the top ones that I can think of are exercise. And certainly walking, swimming, being in nature, and then making art and looking at art. And these are all things that take us out of our usual way of thinking and immerse us in creative thought, expressive thought, or physical movement that just distracts us enough. And these distractions kind of fuel our ahas and our solutions. And the next way that you can really start to increase your creativity and your aha moments is by eliminating situations that are all about overwhelm. I love research on linguistics, and I found an incredible study that says when we say that word overwhelm, just saying it out loud raises our blood pressure. Our bodies don't even want to hear that word out of our mouths. Overwhelm is essentially a whole bunch of feelings and a whole bunch of thoughts all at once. And when we use the word to describe it, we're simply saying, oh, there's too much. I can't even bother to identify it. It's just too much. And we often use that word in casual conversation when it's not true. We're not overstimulated or overwhelmed by a situation. So the more you can let go of that word and focus on creating spaces in your life, the more creativity you will have, the more aha moments will emerge for you. We can really be overloaded by so many things. Our schedule might be packed, and then we look at our cell phone or look at the news, whatever it is that kind of fills in the gaps of our schedule. All of these busy moments don't really let us have space for some creativity and some aha moments. And in fact, cell phones and television can actually shield your ability to access your creative thinking. A couple of weeks ago, I was working with a woman in a VIP day, and she was really struggling with tasks that required her to be a little more creative or inventive. And she was talking about things like growing her business, keeping the romance alive in her marriage. And she just felt depleted and had no energy for the creative aspects of her life. And when we began to look into why, we explored a lot of possibilities. Here's what we found. She had zero room in her schedule. I'm talking zero. Her calendar was packed with her things, her kids' things. There was simply no moment allowed for reflection or contemplation. Even waiting in the car to pick up her kids was filled with looking at her cell phone. There was simply nonstop engagement of her brain in these cognitive tasks or passive consumption through social media or just constantly checking her email, feeling on high alert. Creating space is essential for a creative life. So the research universally shows we have to put down our cell phones, that we also benefit from being in nature. And that research has been going on for decades and decades in science, but it's something we already know. Philosophers and many writers have already taught us that being in nature is inherently healing. We need silence as well. There's some pretty compelling research that suggests maybe we shouldn't have the radio on while we're working, that sound in the background can interfere. Now, I always recommend that people sort that out for themselves. Some people need cognitive anchoring of something going along in the background. But unless you need that kind of cognitive anchoring, music can be a little disruptive. So silence, give it a try. If you've been listening to the radio while you work, turn off the radio and see what happens. Of course, solitude has been shown to increase our creativity. Spending time alone gives us the chance to not worry about what others think. It just kind of takes away a layer of thinking about things. We also have to make space in our schedules, and that can be challenging. If you're like me, you're a busy woman, you're a busy mom, making that space in your schedule is essential. It allows you to be the best that you can be for yourself and for your families, for your coworkers, and everyone around you. Figuring out how to make that space, you could start with just an hour a week. Where can you squeeze in an hour a week? 20 minutes here and there, where you're able to be quiet, be alone, reflect, meditate, write, whatever you want. But not put it in there. This is what I'm going to do, right? Meditate, all these things. Just 20 minutes of free, unstructured time where you can decide in that moment what you want to do. Not do more work, but just do something for yourself. I have to say, scheduling alone time and making the space for it has been the number one thing that helped me transform my ability to be in the present moment and be more creative in my thinking. It's the first thing that I prescribe to my clients is figuring out how are they going to get some exercise every day and how are they going to get some solitude every day. Finally, you probably already know this. You need a good night's sleep. You need a full night's sleep, and that includes a little bit of time before bed to unwind and a little bit of time in the morning to set your intentions. If you want more creative aha moments, reflect at the end of the day what went well, what you're grateful for. There's a lot of research on identifying 3 things you're grateful for once a day increases our feeling of satisfaction. There is no substitute for lack of sleep. If we're missing sleep, we are simply not able to be creative, productive thinkers. I want to make one point about looking for your aha moments. And this is about when you do not need to look for aha moments or create space around them. Don't wait for an aha moment when all you have left to do is just decide what you're doing. If you are wondering, should you take the job or not take the job? Should you call a friend? Should you order this art book or that one? These are the kind of things where you've already thought about it, looked into it, you know the job would work or not. You don't need any more information. The only thing to do is decide and take that action. Any kind of indecision on that is going to interfere with our creativity. The longer we sit in indecision, the more our mind keeps returning to that task. If you already have all the information you need, there's nothing left for you to learn or know or do, then you can just go ahead and make that decision. We want to leave as much psychic space, psychological availability, and psychological flexibility so that we can have more creative moments and enhance our aha moment opportunities. Your take-home message on this episode is all about making space and taking time. So now that you know, what will you create? What will you do? Have a wonderful week. I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. And hey, come join me in the Modern Creative Woman on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Dr. Amy Bacos. You can be a friend of the pod to keep the content free and accessible for women who couldn't afford a membership or a VIP or art therapy. And have you gotten a copy of the 5 values of the Modern Creative Woman? Hop on over to arttherapycentersf.com and join our email list. And then you can get your free copy of the aspirational principles that you need to live your modern creative life.